How we can utilize those funds. We'll check those. There's also you have something that certifies that road be paid back.
That's right, let's get this part going.
Right? There's several ones for us.
All right, here you go. How you doing? I did it. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, I show 5:30. So,
And your mom.
we can
Start
our public hearing. Appreciate everybody who came. Appreciate you being here tonight. We'll start this public hearing.
Just 1 minute, Mayor, I was
Oh,
handing out. I've got to report this.
I record.
Yes. So you want to start that, please?
Okay, so we will call this public hearing to order at 5:30 and, ask for, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start.
Presentation?
Yeah, so this is just a public hearing to get input on Town of Bear River's, master plan, growth master plan for the town. There is some floating maps, some smaller ones, but we have the big one up here, and I'll just kind of run through these. We kind of focused on six aspects, and the first one was land use. And, with this, it's not like it's set in stone, but it gives us an idea of how to plan, as things develop, as things grow, it allows us to help plan for that as it happens. So, we show a future development down here. Is that ever gonna happen? Maybe. Could it never happen? Very well could be. But at least we have an idea that, as the town grows, we kind of want to grow this way and this way. And as we plan our roads and our streets and our sewer and water out, this helps us to determine the best methods to get some of that to it. So that's why we look at the land use as an important aspect, because it really points to aspects of our utilities and which direction to make sure we can run those, so that if this does happen, we have the capability to service it within the town. And so we show several areas in here. Again, winding down, we have in here, that's an if do. It may all depend on if they want to come in and what kind of benefit it has to the town. It may not be a benefit to the town to incorporate. But it may come to a point where it may benefit, and then, you have more of a town say of what kind of things get developed out there within Wyoming Downs. In the past, I specifically laid out a development here. It didn't come to fruition, but I imagine it someday probably will be. There were some large lot parcels out there with that. Other than that, it's just kind of ideas of where we're at with things. We kind of talked about this kind of area right here as being more of a commercial aspect. Maybe as the town grows and there might become a need for some commercial development, some commercial property. Is it set in stone? No. But is it an idea? Yeah, it could. And really that's probably your biggest idea, because you've got some commercial across the street to a point of the trusses. And so this aspect could really become a different kind of central hub commercial wise for the town to have and to grow and be able to benefit from. Is there any questions with that?
Yeah, could you introduce yourself?
Sorry, good point. I'm Garrett Powell. I'm with Forger and Associates. We were consulted by Town of Bear River to do this, and we represent the town as their town engineer right now. So, and I've been working on this. Todd Hurd from our office is also here. He'll have some input or not, maybe. Depends on if he wants to speak, but.
He's pretty quiet.
So really not much of the land use. That's really not, more just a future picture of what could or could not happen with that.
Are some of those parcels up for sale?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure, I know the person that owns this, and if you were to talk to him, he'd probably say not only no, but a hell no. But as it grows and as people, he's getting kind of old, so who knows what happens when the children take over? Who knows what happens when the grandchildren take over? Or it just sells. All it takes is the right person, the right time, and the right amount of money, and it's gone. And so it makes sense because it's bordered by our town boundaries that it would be beneficial to, or may or may not be beneficial to incorporate it in the town, but as it grows and they want our utilities, we can plan for that.
Another question.
Sure.
Wyoming Downs, is it going to stay like it is, or is it changing?
That's a question you probably have to ask Wyoming Downs. I don't know. And it all depends on who owns it at the time, maybe. I mean, I know the town's always wanted to incorporate Wyoming Downs in, but I don't know if it has any benefit to it. The tax base is not huge, so it's not a huge tax benefit. They do utilize the sewer, and so that's a discussion too that happens, that maybe since they're out of town, they need to pay a little higher rate because they are using the sewer. And there's a lot of communities that have a higher out-of-town rate for sewer than within town. And that sometimes forces them to want to annex themselves in so they can get that lower rate as well.
As far as the land use, Carl, probably the best way to put this is this gives the town a document to provide to the developer. If we get John Q, developer, come here and he wants to buy some Charlene's piece of ground and he's going to develop it. If we've got a plan in place that says this is what the town decided 5 years ago, this is what the direction we wanted to go, we have some leverage over that developer. He just can't come, he or she just can't come in and say, this is what I'm going to do.
We already have it.
We got to abide by the plan.
Right,
They can't come in and put in a commercial pig farm,
exactly.
and then we have to smell it, or something, something like that.
Right, we have a plan.
Good question.
Yeah.
Any other questions, or we'll move on to the next one? Of course, I'm crippled. Parks, I love the parks.
Yeah.
Living left-handed in a right-handed world.
Well, I am right-handed, it has been.
I'm left-handed, so.
This next map shows the parks, the areas that are owned by the town. We had a discussion last time kind of over this with the council a little bit, and it was kind of mentioned to leave the parks alone. So not much really to say there. But I have a suggestion, because if we're not going to use them or ever use them, then maybe we try and liquidate those, but that could create some problems in and of itself, because I don't know how the town could unload those without, and it probably have to be a dean answer, but
All your access is public or private owned?
it's privately owned, but it has an access easement to it. So that access easement
A
sticks.
right to pass through only.
Sticks, right, the right to pass through to that parcel.
Right.
And it's not that the parks don't get used, they just are used as is.
Right.
Correct.
They're not developed.
Foot traffic and horse traffic,
Right.
no motorized vehicles.
No hunting, no trapping.
Correct.
20 years from now, maybe that'll change, but.
I'll be dead by then, maybe.
But one of our recommendations within Forestry, and I don't know if it's the town, but is to maybe get rid of a couple of these parcels because there really are no benefit to the town. But
So are you gonna offer them to
that's the problem. I don't know.
Landowners?
The lawyer has to answer the question for me because most times with property on government entities, they have to basically bid it out. And if that could cause a problem, because some Joe Blow could come in here, bid you out, and then he has a parcel of ground that basically has an easement to it. It just creates a lot of complications.
Exactly.
But in hindsight, it would be nice to just give it back to those property owners, because,
or offer them to purchase it?
yes, but I don't know if we can do that legally, or how to do that legally.
To me, here's my thing, it's public access right now, it's public property, right? It's a public access private property, that's just gonna put a big old can of worms.
I believe you're correct there. Joyce.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I've been down this road a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and that document right there shows us what we have as parks, where they're at. It helps everybody here understand what they are. Now, what we do with them is a discussion down the road.
Yeah.
Good call.
You know, I mean, you have this huge piece one up here that I know Dave told me once that he brushes it once a year for a trail. I mean, that's all that needs to happen for that. You have enough horse riders that they can go ride their horse down that trail. And I know Jerry told me the other day that, you know, she just turns the corner and goes out to this one and rides around. I mean, that's what they're there for, so.
Now, do they, I mean, I've been in the neighborhood now about 4 years. I have no idea we have public parks. So, do they advertise them? I mean, are they?
They're all marked right off the side of the road, it says. public
Yeah, I can
access.
see the, the roads in, but that's down on the riverfront. What else is, it's all up on the river?
Well, the large piece is up on Deer Mountain.
Yeah, this one's up Deer Mountain. I think there's isn't there a sign there? What's that?
There's a sign.
I thought there was a sign there that.
It says
But
keep
the other
it
ones are
closed.
down on, keep it.
And the other three's on Colorado.
Yeah, they're back behind where we're at, Jay. If you had a good neighbor, he would explain that to you.
Well, yeah, I know.
Who had a neighbor
So I take it you live close to Clyde.
Right across the street. The old Mazer place.
Oh, so really, we're just showing these, I mean, there's really nothing, I mean, my recommendation was to maybe consolidate, but it sounds like that's really not an option at this point. So it's just to leave them alone and let whoever uses them.
I agree with that.
Continue to maintain it and use that service.
And where I came from, one of the main reasons we put parks where they put them was floodplains.
It's always the first piece of ground because
Right.
nobody wants to develop on them. Or it ends up being where they have the stormwater detention.
And the town has spent quite a little amount of money rip wrapping.
We got a map on that one.
One of our suggestions too is try to protect the quote unquote islands / parks.
So the armor,
So they won't get a bank.
yeah, river, you got armor there.
And some of them have it now for good and some don't.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I mean, I've gone out for rides and seen the sun.
Somebody up? So this map does show the riprap and kind of what has been done riprap wise, So these red ones are what's been done. And then these pink ones were some recommendations to protect those areas. Specifically where these are the towns, just to protect those parcels shrinking or becoming worse. There was a trails plan done by, Park Service several years ago, and they kind of mentioned rip-wrapping this one, and so I threw that one in there just so it doesn't keep eroding into that parcel there. There was some J-hooks put into here a little bit ago too as well. There was nothing ever done on this one or that one down there. As we go down the road, if it needs to be, it can be added on as well through the master plan as you move down the road from this. Any questions on that?
Is that the existing line of the river, the red?
No,
That's where the rip wraps.
That's where the rip-
You just take that back.
It's far off.
the red was where it was ripped wrapped, where it's already been ripped wrapped. And then the pink is what we're proposing to have in there. So when we finish up with this report, we'll have a matrix, and we'll kind of put this matrix together, capital improvement projects, and it'll be based on safety and a different number of items, so that the most highest priority project gets put to the top. And it'll be based on several different categories, a number attributed to it. And when we get to that point, we'll probably want to have another meeting to go over those to make sure that they meet what you guys feel, and it's not just my opinion type thing, but we'll have that matrix so that, okay, this project here is our highest priority based on the numbering system that it was given. And then you can work your way down to this and know what, okay, maybe the riprap is our highest priority, or maybe it's the sewer, whichever one it is, then we can move forward and get that and plan accordingly. This is our roads, are recommended on the roads, and this is where kind of that land use plays into effect, so that we know where to master plan for some roads down the future. Like we talked about that parcel down here, if that ever annexed, we'd want to make sure we have a good access road out of the Deer Mountain Ranch up here, so that there's another access out of there. Same thing here, if this ever annexed, we could bring the road out here, and same thing with this parcel, bring it out. And that's one of the important aspects of having that kind of planned that way, so that if it does ever move forward, hey, we need this road, we have it planned, you need to make sure you have that in your plan for development. This other road is one just to get off of the North Deer Mountain, and this is actually owned by the city right now, and we'll have some costs for that to put in and put it into the matrix, but that's another good access to come off of this area, since we only have one. We included this aspect because this road has a lot of problems of washing out when the weather gets bad, and so we're looking at some options and ideas and putting some costs to those of what we may do to still allow it to be maintained good, but also so that it doesn't keep washing out and causing us more maintenance issues as we go down the road. And it doesn't show very good, but we had some curb and gutter put in here this summer, and we wanted to extend that out as well as part of this road master plan aspect. Extend those out to the end of the town boundaries. My printer didn't plot those very good, so. The yellow and red stripes are kind of funny. It's supposed to be red. Any questions with that? Good, no questions. Either I'm just more confusing or I'm making sense. This last one, the sewer, I think is probably the most critical time that we have right now, because this is probably where most of this is a lot of the bottlenecks within town right now, is our sewer. As we go down here and go through where the existing is, a lot of these lines are very, very flat, and they were laid that way. But they're almost too flat that they're not carrying the correct capacity for the sewer. This lift station, we're not totally sure, but it should have the capacity. There's just some adjustments we may need to make, but we think we could add to that lift station and create it even better so that we can get more flow through there and not cause it to back up up the line.
That should be shown on the other side of the river.
What's the manhole over here on Christensen for?
I don't know.
It's something that's on the GIS list.
Oh.
It might be in water.
I asked the same question, but it's on the GIS for some reason.
Okay.
Hey, Garrett, when you say correct capacity, explain that.
So when we lay out sewer lines, there's a minimum slope we can have, right? And when we do that minimum slope, so we get the right amount of velocity, so we're not hanging up our solids. Because when you hang up your solids, that creates a bottleneck and forces more maintenance issues. You have to jet that a lot. And so certain pipes have a certain slope to them. I think this was a 10-inch and it was put in at a minimum slope. But that minimum slope, when they put it in, wasn't maintained as well as it should. So the slope is a lot flatter. And so with that, it's not allowing the correct capacity to flow down the line. Now, sometimes it'll back up and push itself. And that's fine, which has probably been doing that for however many years it's been in there. But as the town grows and more people hook onto this, or we expand it, it's gonna become more of an issue. And it really creates the bottleneck so that you can't expand. You can't push that line up further south, allow people to develop and add on to it because of that capacity restriction there.
And that was part of the reason they made a 10-inch line, is because they couldn't get the slope on an 8-inch because it just didn't have to fall.
Yeah.
What Garrett's kind of referring to as far as capacity goes, right now you might be able to flow in with an 8-inch line of flow versus with an inch or
Because it's so flat.
Just because it's got so many, and I haven't looked at them because they make me sick, but they've got of it.
Yeah, when they first put the water system in, they actually went down and cleaned that line and videoed it from top to bottom. And we've got multiple areas down there in that collection system, the camera goes underwater. So we've got valleys and that lows in the line, which further decreases the capacity as well. When, I guess what these guys are talking about, if it was to develop, say, take on a subdivision of 20 homes, really, right now, the bottom end of that system could handle that 20 homes without upgrading something, whether it be the lift station, pipe size on that in town. Yeah, so it's kind of, even for our impact monies, that's why we broke that up into phases, is that we can do a lift station, or we can do upsize the pipe to increase the capacity, because really, right now, today, we really couldn't handle much of an impact.
And we've had some discussions on that through the way, and I wanted everybody to hear that, because that's why we're gonna have to have impact money, is hopefully to help that. So, Taylor had a question.
Can you explain how the lift station upgrades make that better?
Well, the lift station should really sit over here is what this is. The pumps in the lift station can handle it. It's still so flat getting there, and the depth there's not enough volume in there to handle it, to let those pumps run effectively. So they cycle more and they run them out, then they can wear them out quicker, is what we're looking for.
They're just not running efficiently right now.
Right.
So you could adjust your pumps to fit your system better, but not necessarily increase the capacity of the system with the lift station.
Correct. But in increasing it, we could add another vault to that fairly simply enough that it could increase that capacity, allow those pumps. Those pumps could easily handle, I think they flow like 600 gallons. I mean, the pumps are not the problem. It's more just the capacity of that vault as the sewer flows in and having those floats set right so that it doesn't back it up here because it is so flat.
So this wasn't you guys, but if there's a lift station at the end, why were they running it at minimum slope? Why?
The boom was happening. You should have seen the roads they built originally out here, just for a little while to get to my house.
Dude, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean,
Great question.
hindsight's always good, 2020. I mean, you would have thought, well, why didn't they do it this way or this way? But for whatever reason, in whatever situation they were in, they did it that way.
We weren't even incorporated.
Yeah, we were an improvement district.
Because the only thing you can do is go deeper.
It was an improvement district. for that then.
It's probably floated too over the years.
I bet it's,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, our main recommendation is to replace this stretch of line, because this is where most of some of them even almost have a reverse slope on those pipes, so it's just not, and that's probably just over the years as well, that stretch of line is just not good.
What's the distance of that stretch of line?
it's just under a mile.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap construction. I mean, you're dealing with groundwater because of the location.
And you have customers already on there, you gotta take care of, while you're doing that.
Before that.
And I will say Dave has done a good job at maintaining that, the integrity of that and that flow through that system down there. Because when I first heard, I had a lot of questions, and I asked that question, so you guys could understand what that line is like and what we're looking at. So when we come and say, we're gonna spend money for this, you understand obviously what we're looking at. Because that could be a big issue. Like you said, that's the biggest thing on that board right there.
From my standpoint, yes, and then without putting that into that matrix to say, I would probably, that one's gonna be at the top, fairly close.
Now, are the green lines flowing into the red line
Yes.
or vice versa?
Well, this was all green line, so everything's flowing to this point here.
Okay, so anything you do on the red line is going to affect
Well,
everybody on the green
Yes.
line also.
The red line shows where we'd like to replace
Right.
this. So this is, we'd like to replace this. This is future expansion.
But I mean, currently, it's gonna affect everybody.
It won't really affect.
It affects everyone.
No, it will affect them, but you're gonna have flow through anyway.
Right.
So it's not gonna affect them during construction. And all it's gonna do is improve the whole system.
It's a positive effect. There's not problems that are caused with that.
And it's.
I asked the same questions, Jay, the same questions. It's all good until that toilet comes right back at you.
Right, Vernon? I heard that. Vernon's right in the middle of it.
And this line here, I alluded to before was Wyoming Downs. They run their sewer in through there. They're not in town. I don't know if you guys are charging them an out-of-town rate. That may be something that we may recommend here to look at those out-of-town people to not necessarily force them into town, but you're generating a little more revenue off of them because they're not part of this.
For commercial, they are using the system.
Yeah, we charge for 3 months, $1,300 for 3 months. It's not even 3 months. Well, it's probably.
It should be a month.
And there again is, if annexation happens, I mean, this one wouldn't be hard to stub those lines out. There again, until we make sure that our main lines can handle that capacity, there's really no point in anybody tie on. The sewer lagoons have plenty of capacity. I mean, the pumps in the sewer lagoons are really good. The vault for the lift station's iffy. And then this line here just is not good.
That line's 1,500 yards. It's about 0.85. But no, it's exactly 0.85
Yeah.
miles.
We wanted to go to a 16-inch line. Because that would increase our capacity, would allow us to keep them fairly flat like they are. And we'd have a lot more, be able to flow them and plan for the future as it happens.
And level it out.
Well, when you talk about a 0.28% slope, that's what a 10-inch can have, is a 0.28. That's flat. I mean, in a 20-foot stick, that's not much drop. And it gets a little flatter as the bigger you go because it's just a bigger pipe. And so going to a 16-inch with a 0.28 slope, or trying to maintain a 0.28 slope, the rest, fixing some of our bellies, some of them may be a little more flatter, but fixing some of those bellies, it's gonna just increase our velocity, increase our flow through there, and allow for future growth.
Understand too, and this series, it's still just a planning document. This doesn't have any, very little engineering or design put into it. I mean, we don't right now, at this time, we don't know whether we need to put in a 16-inch line and then improve the lift station, or we improve the lift station, then put in the 18-inch line. We don't really even have any real numbers to put with this. This is where our problem is now with our plan. We need to address it.
it could be 10, 15 years down the road. I mean, that's just something, because right now, this is just Todd speaking, but it's not broke. Right now, it's not broke. But potentially,
Does it cause maintenance issues? Yes. That he knows of.
Yeah.
I mean, and we all know that the manholes have come out the tops. In the past they have, but they've updated some of the stuff on the lift station at that point, and that hasn't happened since, correct? Nick? So,
See, there again, that's, you know, what Todd's talking about is, you actually had the lift station go down because something got flushed down the toilet, the pumps didn't like, and it bound up the pumps. And so it created problems and it started backing up the line and it started overflowing the manholes. And we remedied that source, and we had a bar screen, so that's not an issue at the time, right?
you don't like to be at the bottom on the sewer, and you don't like to be at the bottom on waterways.
Any other questions with that? Any other thoughts with this plan?
Ideas. Anybody have any ideas that they'd like to see?
I lulled them all to sleep, sorry.
So what about the water table? You couldn't go down, you were thinking that it's possible that the water table stopped them from putting it deep.
In the beginning, that's probably what happened.
It was wet.
I'm definitely guessing on that, but we already know that it's, most places in the spring of the year, you're probably only 4 foot down the groundwater.
So can you design a system that will go down lower so that we can eliminate all that problem?
Cause I went and measured all of it. It's
So you got a profile.
Yeah. It's roughly between 6 and 8.
All right.
And that's part of the reason, going back to Taylor's comment, of upsizing the line, laying it flat. Because they could have raised that up and says no basements, which I don't think there is any basements. But I'm sure there's a couple.
Not many.
But the standard is 8 foot depth, so you can allow for houses to get hooked into the sewer. This is all under 8. Pretty sure, I can't remember. I took the notes. And the measurements. Anyway.
6, 7,
I think more around, my mind says an average of 8, so that's just mine.
It got deeper, it got more things.
Well, and it had to do that, because it has to get under the river too.
And part of the reason Gareth has that lift station shown on that side of the river, that was one of our ideas, is to move that lift station, because one of the bottlenecks is crossing the river.
It's flat.
Then we could actually deepen that lift station and convert that to a source range for the lagoons, which eliminates part of the bottleneck and gives us something a little bit deeper to tie onto when they replace that line. And we look at pipe bursting, because that's the only way you can go with the bigger size.
Yeah.
If you try to sleeve it, you're not fixing the bellies. It's, digging it up is gonna be the cheapest alternative in my opinion.
Oh, the drainage.
Short stretch, lots of people want to dig in the fall.
I did a sewer project across the swamps, and I bid all of it to Dora. It was triple what it was to dig it. It's just,
There's too many unknowns.
Further research and development.
And like they said, this is just an
it is,
idea.
It's a plan.
The direction to start.
Just gives you a roadmap. I mean, all the roads break off and takes us different places, but at least it's a somewhere to start and to head down the road, so that you're not saying, oh, what do we do now?
at least we don't have any roundabouts.
We have some ideas.
We can fix that.
Not yet.
No roundabout.
Hey, that will
slow the traffic down out here, though.
We'll get wide up around here.
With the sewer system, like you say, it's not broke yet, you don't wanna wait till it's broke.
And you don't, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
And to your understanding, just about every, state, federal funding agency, that give out grants or loans, one of the first questions they ask when you go and ask for example, a sewer project, is do you have this in your plan?
yeah,
You know, so if you come in here and say no, well, then it's gonna take 10 years to get that plan identified with the state. If it's in our plan, it kind of gains us some leverage as far as getting grants.
It opens the funding doors a lot more than just having it cracked. Not that we seem to have any more funding around here,
It's proactive.
It is.
But it's like Dave said, what else are your thoughts? I mean, on the community? Because it's our community, right? What are your thoughts on it?
like I said, I hold them all.
Now, I just read they've got a new data center going in east of Evanston. Is that gonna increase the population in the area or?
They're projecting it to.
A lot of things are projecting.
I think I heard a number today in a meeting that we were like 900 to 1,100 homes short by 2030 or something.
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, that's
That's
short
everywhere in the
now.
state.
What?
well, that's short now.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I don't mind.
I think that's good old winters, that's a lot.
Less neighbors, right?
I'm with you, Troy. The problem is we can't stop it.
So how long would it take to do a draft on all of this and then we can have another meeting and tweak it or whatever?
Well, right now, we don't have any comments to tweak. Do we have any tweaks?
Not yet. Haven't seen draft yet.
I think you should change the red to purple.
Take note of that. So really our next task is to take these recommendation ideas and these improvement projects and put cost to them. And as we do that, we'll put them in, like I said earlier, into a matrix of how to categorize them and make sure that our top one meets all the criteria for being at the top. And then we have an outline of our draft report. We need to fill in some of the blanks and go through some of this as documented in that report so that it's outlined descriptively. And then we can put that report out we'll probably have another meeting to go over those final findings and costs and things. So I'm saying, 2-3 months maybe.
And then don't forget it, you set up the cost now, and 10 years from now, we're building all this.
Well, honestly, if you want my opinion, I am so gun shy with cost estimates, I don't even want to give one, because every time I do, it's either I'm way too high or I'm way too short, and nobody likes it, so.
Well, here again, this is just a planning document. Those costs don't have to be dead set. Right on.
Just that.
It's just kind of a general idea.
But we want a good idea just for the fact, because like Dave said, this is some of our funding mechanisms. We can take this, those costs do end up going to those funding places and requesting money. So not that we have to be spot on, but we've got to be high enough that we're not hurting ourselves when we do get the money.
And in our estimates in these studies, we typically add
10%.
Well, you add that to get with, to start with.
That's right off the bat.
And then we'll do inflation throughout the next several years.
Yeah.
And we always dismiss it as inflation.
It had two parts. One, the last with the estimates, we were at the industrial siding meetings, and that was one of the things that was asked, was this an engineer's estimate? Have you gone out to bid? Where are you at to figure out if these are good costs? And two, are we going to have that divided up into different areas that could be prioritized throughout the line? So it's, I'm just pulling the number out, but 10 projects that fit together So that could be prioritized.
Different phases.
Right, rather than, because if we go out to ask for a loan, a lot of times, a whole project is just gonna be more than we could even come up with on a 50 or 75-25 match for a small town.
Well, I think he said that when he said
Yeah.
that the priority would be go down Porter's first mile for the lift station.
Well, but.
He's also wanted
first
to
mile,
be a phase corridor.
could that first mile be divided up into 3 sections that would say, if we did this, it could help? I don't know.
And that's kind of what we did with this, the Pacific. Zone.
Yeah, that's phase one.
We've got an engineer's estimate for $1.8 million, somewhere around there. Anyway, we've got a cost estimate from Morgan all the way down to the sewer lagoons. You know, that's approximately $1.8 million. What we did when we took our ask to Pacific Solar is we cut that in thirds, and then we asked for the match required for 1/3 of the project. You know, so, I mean, we got $152,667, and right now, at today's cost, that is what an approximate 25% match on 1/3 of the project would be.
Well, and that's what made me think of it, because we had a general third of the project, but it wasn't really broken out. We just said, we think it's going to cost about this much, this much, this much. If it's evenly done, but in fact, one section might cost more than another section. One section might provide more benefit.
As far as the line itself, replacing the line, I agree with what you're saying. Basically bite the elephant, eat the elephant one bite at a time type thing. The problem is you're paying mold, you're paying rebidding costs, I mean, you've got a bunch of additional costs.
30 is much.
Yeah, when,
I think from the standpoint of this master plan though, we just leave it. I mean, if you need to phase it out, that's something that, you know, we can take that cost and break it up like Dave did, and that's not too hard. But I mean, for this aspect, we're gonna just kind of leave it generalized, you know, this stretch of line needs to be replaced, here's the cost, here's where it fits into that matrix and that capital improvement plan. And if we phase it later, great, we can phase that later, but this is where it fits and that's where our priority needs to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And lines are a lot easier to phase. I mean, the lift station probably not being phased if we have to do something there. I mean, it all just depends on that kind of aspect. You know, taking the road off of Deer Mountain, I mean, that one's gonna be, probably not be able to be phased, and we just need to do something to help prevent it from flushing out on them all the time, so.
Or even like the secondary access coming off.
The secondary access.
That would be a one project, you couldn't phase that, so you'll build half the road.
Some people might.
Yeah.
One way.
We were thinking, we can't, I was thinking.
that's where the roundabout goes.
Yeah, you know.
So how's everybody feeling okay with where we at so far? I appreciate you showing up, because when it comes time to spend the money, people who haven't been involved are gonna say, you're gonna spend how much? But those of you who've been involved along kind of understand what's coming down the road, and you're not quite as offended when you see the dollar signs, because, yeah, this kind of stuff doesn't come cheap. But it's, I mean, sewer lines is one of the necessities of life, you know. We gotta have it, and it's gotta work.
Well, I've sat in some meetings like this for master plans, and there's not near a third of the people in them. So I appreciate all of you being here, making the comments, it's been good.
The bigger towns.
Yeah, twice the size and they still don't show up, so. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Call for adjournment.
Okay, so, yeah, we'll adjourn the public hearing at 6:12. And with that,